Etiquette Show, our entree to the world of culture, gender, sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Gershman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dubé. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
On this episode of The Etiquette Show, accomplished LGBTQ writers Scott Alexander Hess and Rob Rosen discuss their latest novels, while Assboeck takes to the streets to talk to single New Yorkers about dating during the pandemic. And if you're looking to dance in the real world, Ms. Simone Assboeck of Dance Together NYC will show you how. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to The Etiquette Show. I'm Conchetta Rose. Today on The Etiquette Show, we have multi-award-winning and best-selling author, editor, and anthologist. His short stories have appeared in more than 200 anthologies. Here to discuss his latest novel, Sort of Dead, author Rob Rosen. Rob, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So let me ask you right off the bat, what goes into creating an anthology?
So yes, that is an interesting question. It's not an easy gig. So I started off writing as a short story writer, and that progressed to a novelist. And that went on for some years. And so in conjunction with writing novels, I was writing short stories. And I write kind of in two genres. I write erotica and I write romantic comedies. Frequently combined. I write romantic comedy erotica as well, which is a cool niche. It's one of the reasons I'm so well published, because few writers write romantic comedy erotica.
Oh,
I don't know. To me, that's fun. And then out of the blue one day, I got an invite to become the editor of the Best Gay Erotica series. Best Gay Erotica is the oldest, largest gay erotica anthology in the world. It ended 3 years ago, sadly, but it was distributed by Simon & Schuster. It was all of my anthologies were #1 bestsellers. But I had never written in an anthology before. I'd never edited an anthology before. It was a weird invite. It was from a publisher that I worked with, so they knew me, and but I said sure. So weird, and it's really labor intensive. I have to put out calls for short stories. I have to review hundreds and hundreds of short stories. I have to edit all those short stories, then re-edit again. I have to deal with, fragile egos, and I have to decline hundreds of stories, which is really a hard thing to do when you're also a writer and you've received hundreds of declines. So I'm always really sweet about it. So I did that for 5 years, and then the anthology closed. Most gay erotic anthologies shut down about 5 years ago or so. It was a huge market for decades, and then it just kind of withered away. Very strange.
Wow. Do you think there'll be a resurge of it?
I don't know. You could get so much free erotica online. I just don't see it. Just the whole publishing industry in general has suffered over the last decade. People are just overwhelmed by things to read, and they just aren't reading like they were, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So no, I don't see a resurgence. But everyone has different modes now to get their work across. There's lots of online readings now, so people can, hear erotica or hear short stories or hear novels online. So no, I don't. It's never going to come back to what it was.
Right. I feel like that's a shame. Do you feel like with the upcoming of the internet, which has been quite a few years now, and technology advancing as quickly as it does, do you think, I have a theory, and my theory is that it has greatly shortened our attention spans. So do you think that has affected the book industry as well?
I think so too. Yeah. It's funny. Like, you know, on a side note, I watch way more YouTube now than I watch cable TV because I only have like 10 minutes of span. My span just keeps shrinking as I keep getting older. I don't know. I don't know if it's how our brains are being rewired now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's all related, that people just don't have the attention span anymore.
Yeah, everything's so immediate too. Like we don't have to use our brain to even think, you know, you go like, oh, who wrote that book? Let me Google it. You know, you don't even try to use your brain, or I shouldn't say you, I don't even try to use my brain most of the time. And that's just because it's accessible in that sense.
And I think the other issue is that most or many of the smaller gay publishing houses closed within the last 10 years. All the gay magazines folded. There's none. You know, I mean, like erotica, like the stuff you used to see when you walk down the street on the newsstands, they're all gone. Yeah. The medium-sized publishers have shrunk, and the larger ones just really aren't publishing in these little niche genres anymore.
Wow. So are they kind of disappearing altogether, or are they're
gone? Yeah, almost everyone I've ever written for no longer exists. I'm very, very fortunate. So I've written for over 20 years. I've published for more than a couple of dozen publishers, and my two main ones where I publish my novels through, they're still running. So I'm really, really fortunate.
Yeah.
But most of the other ones, sadly, no.
Ah, that's a shame. So when you start to write, what inspires you to write? What keeps you motivated?
You know, it's funny. Like, I'll just be laying there and a story title will hit my head and I'll just start writing it. It's really weird. I don't even always come up with a story first. I just come up with a title and I write it. My last novel was called Ted of the D'Urbervilles. And I don't know. I just heard Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and I was like, hey, I wonder if there's a Ted of the D'Urbervilles. And I looked it up, and there wasn't. I was kind of surprised because, you know, someone always comes up with that idea, right? You know, to revamp a story. Right. So I wrote Ted of the D'Urbervilles. You know, there it went.
So let's talk about your latest.
Yeah.
Dead.
Sort of Dead. Yeah. So I've written 15 novels. All of my novels are romantic comedies. I generally publish one novel a year. I could do two, but marketing a novel is difficult at best and not fun at all. It's really fun to write a book. It's really not fun to market a book. And my publisher's on the small side, and they can only do so much. So a lot of that falls on my shoulders. So I write one novel a year. All 15 of my novels are romantic comedies. And I run the gamut of all genres. So I write science fiction, I write fantasy, I write contemporary. I very much like to mix my genres. So a lot of my novels are detective novels with drag queens, with vampires, with werewolves, with zombies versus drag queens. I mean, you know, I have a whole drag queen post-apocalyptic novel called Queens of the Apocalypse. And then I wrote the sequel from the zombie side of things called Creature Comfort, about a zombie's adventures in Zombieland and looking for love. You know, so this novel, Sort of Dead, it's a detective novel, but it's my main character Nord has found himself. He wakes up and he's in a sort of limbo. Clearly not alive, but he doesn't know where he is. And he walking through this limbo, he meets other people and discovers that everyone has died, but it's not in heaven. They're all waiting for this poof, because they've seen people go poof, and they assume that there's a next level, which is where the title Sort of Dead comes from, because they're not all the way dead yet. And so Nord goes back to Earth. The soul is connected to places that they've been in life, so their homes, their work, their families. They can go back to those places, and he hooks up with a medium, and he through him finds out, how he died, why he died, and he's trying to see if he can put the murderer to justice and go poof.
Yeah.
And all in a romantic comedy, and about maybe finding love after. Is there love after life?
That's an interesting way of putting it. No one ever.
Yeah, to misquote Cher. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Where can our friends get their copy of Sort of Dead?
It's everywhere. Right now, it's only my publisher publishes ebooks for the first 6 months and then releases the paperback. So it's not in paperback yet. It will be soon. But it and all my novels are everywhere. Anywhere you can find a book, you can find me and all of my novels. That's
amazing. So local bookstores as well as the bigger chains, yes?
Anyone can order it. I mean,
of course, duh.
Yeah.
We're just talking about it.
If you're still reading paper, yes, you could still order it.
I don't know. I like something about a hard copy in front of me, I feel like it's a tangible thing. Reading on a computer screen is not really my bag, but I think a lot of people go for that with the Kindles and things like that. But I like the hard copy myself. So when you're writing, do you ever start with, I know you said you start with titles, and that's like so cool and fun to kind of uncrack that shell there. But do you ever think of like a concept or maybe one of your personal philosophies and then kind of expand that way?
Maybe. I do try to be poignant in all my novels, and I do try to have some like a philosophical level to them. And so I guess the philosophies mirror my own philosophies. It's not like all zany slapstick. So the concepts of family and love is love. Yeah, I mean, I do try to come up with those concepts, but generally they fall in place as the writing progresses. So, like I'll start a book, and once I get through one chapter, I kind of know where it's going to go, and I know what the point I'm trying to get across will be. Those philosophies, I know I'm going to have to hit them, in the next chapter or the next chapter. So, but basically, I just start writing, and then, I know a lot of authors, and a lot of us say that we don't write the books, the characters write the books. As soon as we get the character on the page, the character takes us on their journey, and we're just sitting there typing what they tell us to type. Yeah. And a lot of authors will say that it's just not even them writing it.
Yeah, you're a vessel, you're a channel for that.
A total vessel, yeah.
That's amazing, and you get to.
And it's really sad. Like when you put a book to rest, when you set it out in the world, and mostly I don't write sequels because they don't sell as well. It's kind of weird to put those characters away because it takes 6 to 8 months to write a book, and so they become part of you. Yeah. In fact, I wrote one book in 6 weeks.
Wow.
I don't know how that happened either.
You were just not stopping with your fingers the whole.
I love this book so much. It's called "And God Belched," and it's about God belching out different universes and the universes overlapping, and one character ending up in another universe and trying to save that universe. Now, 6 weeks, I don't know. It's like I looked at my computer. I'm like, how did I do that?
That is so incredibly impressive. My goodness. Excuse me. So I feel like there's a thing happening out in novels nowadays too, where I feel like more and more authors are, especially in the LGBTQ format, representing more pleasant endings for their characters instead of some dramatic cutoff or longing that the character ends up with. Do you feel like you do that in your writing as well?
If you look at, I belong to a lot of Facebook groups, and there's one called MM Book Lovers, I think it's called. It has over 11,000 members.
Oh, wow.
And gay romance is the number one genre in gay fiction. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to make money as a gay writer, and if you want a larger readership, gay romance is the way to go. Fortunately, that is what I enjoy writing. But almost everyone wants HEA. There's very few. You will not find any people who don't want that. But I just think that's a general. I don't think that's like a recent thing. Who wants to read a downer anyway?
Right.
But even when I'm marketing the book, they ask, you know, before they'll review you, they'll say, "Is this HEA?" Because most reviewers don't want to read something that's not happily ever after, or something that comes to a conclusion, or, you know, no one really wants open-ended. There are writers who write like that, who write nothing but middle.
Right.
I can't stand reading something like that. And then when I was an anthologist, a lot of writers would send me those kind of stories, you know, people who have a great deal of talent writing, but not a great deal of talent telling a story. And so there's a difference. You could be a really good writer, but not a really good novelist.
Right. Well, there's many.
So I think everyone wants an HEA.
Yeah. Well, they can certainly find them in your books with all positivity you're exuding forth. So, Sort of Dead, get it today. Rob, thank you so much for joining us here on the Etiquette Show.
Thank you. That was a pleasure, and everyone have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Reporting to you in the heart of New York City in the beautiful Times Square with the Etiquette Show. Today, we're going to find out how single New Yorkers feel about dating during the pandemic and what trends they have been noticing. Hi guys, this is Celia with the Etiquette Show, and with me I have Deja. It's okay. And how has Corona impacted your love life?
Lord, my love life?
She's a lord, yeah.
Well, I mean, I gave coronavirus to my boyfriend. Well, we had it for a whole month.
Yeah.
It's all good now.
And was he mad or upset?
No, he just said he's just going to take care of me, so.
Oh, that's so sweet. You gave it to him, but he still cared about you?
Yeah, he did.
I hope y'all get married. That's love.
I hope so. A year and a half, so.
So were you guys one of the couples that had to spend more time or less time together?
In the beginning, I would have to say more time, but then because, you know, coronavirus and the economy and stuff, we both lost our jobs, so we had to move to another state.
When's he coming back?
Yeah, never.
What do you mean?
No, he wants me to move to PA with him, so I'm thinking about doing that.
Alright.
Yeah.
What kind of, do you wish that he could move here?
He doesn't want to move back here.
What? It's so nice here. This is New York. Look at it.
He's been there all his life. He just wants to move, so.
And how do you feel about that?
I don't really blame him. Like, I kind of want to move too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what would you contribute to your relationship working out so well?
Communication, like that's just the best thing to keep right now to, you know, keep a healthy relationship. Only communication.
No, that's true. Well, I have one last question. Most couples, they thought more because they had to spend more time together. Most people, when they have to go through distance, they go through challenges. So, what has helped you guys the most throughout those challenges?
Oh, Lord. Honestly, we faced more challenges than I even expected throughout this, you know, whole experience with the coronavirus and within our relationship.
Yeah.
I know that our communication was really bad, but, you know, throughout time it got better. You know, if you want to be with somebody for a long time, and that's the only thing that we had a problem with was communication.
And I'm glad it seems like you guys both grew throughout your problems and just got better and better.
Right, yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, this is Celia with the Etiquette Show, and with me I have
Gabriel.
And how has Corona impacted your love life?
My love life? Oh my God, will be that impacting a lot. Because I haven't been able to date so much, especially during this time. And it's not because of me, but it's because we have to follow the guidelines, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So what do you think about Tinder, about Hinge?
I'm actually using Tinder sometimes, because why not, you know? I'm not afraid to date people. So if someone wants to date me, why not? I'm here.
He's single. It's like we put your phone number like right here in the video.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's go. Oh my god. And
I'm single and ready to mingle.
Yes. Okay, tell us about you.
Well, I'm from Honduras,
Yes.
and I just moved here since I have been living seriously for 5 months.
Oh
And
my
yeah, I'm pretty
God.
brand new here,
Yeah.
and so far I like it so much. I love the city. You can do whatever you want here.
You can. Okay, so first of all, he's from another country, so he's different and fun. Also, he believes in himself and he sees opportunities, so you know, go for it. Okay, so let me ask you, how did you used to meet people before Corona?
I usually see people.
Yeah, Corona's happened.
Say that again, because I'm just lost.
That's all good. So before Corona hit and everything, how did you used to meet like everybody?
To be honest, I was doing just for Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just the new Tinder, right?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so how do guys usually, I mean, like, how would you say someone, they're using Instagram right now, what advice would you give them to be able to go into someone's, like, DMs, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you like someone, don't be afraid to tell them. Just, I don't know, just send them some reaction sometime.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if they like you back, they will tell you. Definitely.
Oh, wait, they don't, okay, so how would they tell you? Would they, like your back, send an emoji, or what?
Yeah, you know that some Instagram have some reaction picture,
Yeah.
so you just have to put like you love the picture and that's it.
Yeah.
So it will send like a direct message to them, and then you can like the picture or they can reply you back. So if you like it, I mean, if they like it, they will, I don't know, reply just right away and tell you you're cute, and that's how you're gonna start the conversation. You know what I mean?
So, what was the best relationship you were ever in?
That was probably 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and that was my last one actually. It was really good, and actually I started through Instagram.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so what made that relationship so great?
We were really together. We used to do everything together, go to the gym, go to the movies together. I don't know, we had a pretty good relationship. I don't know, he used to be with me, or he used to hang out with me most of the time. My mother used to love him. It was really good actually. Yeah.
And what did you learn from the relationship that you'll bring on to your next one?
That you have to be confident about yourself. I don't know, it's about trust, and that you have to trust in your partner.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I learned, because I don't know, it's just something, and that you really have to communicate with your couple, you know?
Yeah.
Because everything is about communication, so that's how I learned about relationship. Communication. And to love yourself and to trust.
So how do you love yourself?
I love myself now because I'm very confident now.
How did you get that confidence and that self-love?
It's just something that you learn eventually, because you have to learn how to love yourself before you love someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Is that like treating yourself a certain way?
Yeah, I'm treating better myself now.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel that I like to go to the gym by myself, some activity by myself. I don't know. Treat yourself, you know what I mean? You just need someone else to do something that you will really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the top 3 qualities that you want in your future partner?
To be someone that I can hang out with, someone really down to earth, and someone that wants to create or build a future eventually, you know? Someone that I can be with.
Yeah.
Basically, that's it. Someone down to earth, very humble, kind, and very easygoing, I don't know.
So what about red flags? What are 3 red flags that people should always watch out for?
If your partner doesn't show, I mean, he doesn't pay attention to you. I mean, if you're with them, you know what I mean? And you're having like a dinner or something, they're always on their cell phone. That's something that it is a red flag. Also, if you are alone with you, if you fight with your partner, that's something that you really need to think about, because that's something that is going to create the whole environment for your relationship. Basically, that's it, I guess.
No, that's good. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Oh my God. Okay. And there you have it. This is Acedia reporting to you in Times Square. Now back to you in the studio.
Welcome back to the Etiquette Show. I'm Conchetta Rose. Today on the Etiquette Show, we have licensed Latin and ballroom dance instructor, movement therapist, dancer, choreographer, judge, and coach with over 15 years experience teaching dance professionally, and founder of Dance Together NYC, Miss Simone Assboeck. Thank you.
Woohoo! Hello, Conchetta. How are you?
Fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing great. Fabulous day we chose. Sunny outside. What else can we look for, right?
That's how I feel these days anyway. Coming into the spring always feels like, oh, sun, give it to me, you know?
Exactly.
So tell all our friends at home here, what is Dance Together NYC?
Well, Dance Together NYC is a Latin and ballroom dance studio where I want to introduce people to the world of dance. Of course, I'm biased because I love dance, and so I feel like the whole world should be dancing. So that's my favorite part. People who feel like they can't dance, they don't believe in themselves, they think they have no rhythm, 2 left feet. They are my people because I believe that anybody can dance, everybody has a rhythm, and I'll take care of the 2 left feet and make them a dancing pair of feet.
That's fabulous. I love what you have on your website. You wrote dancing for the real world. Now, what does that mean?
Well, so having grown up in the dance world, it's kind of like the dance community is a big, intense family and area. But there are people who, they don't want to get necessarily into the dance world that deeply. They just want to feel comfortable if they go to a wedding or if they are at a holiday party or if they're just music playing somewhere outdoors and they feel like, hey, I would like to move to that. And so I want to help them getting comfortable on the dance floor. And for that, also, sometimes people have a hard time. What do I choose to learn? Right? And so dancing for the real world to me means there are like a handful of dances from all the dances there are in partner dancing that are the most useful for dancing somewhere in real life at a wedding, as I said, or like outdoors or at a holiday party.
Oh. So, for instance, you would teach like the waltz to a modern song?
Yeah, so for example, one of my ideas is with dancing for the real world is, so if you are somewhere and you hear some music, then you're right away confronted with, well, what am I going to dance to this, right? How do I decide which song is what dance style? And in the dance community, we have like songs that are really like geared to the dance, to the dance style and to the way we dance. But when you are somewhere else at a wedding, as I said, they play like music from the charts, contemporary music, contemporary artists. And sometimes, it's hard for people who are not as used to that to decide like, is this a waltz? Is this maybe a cha-cha? Is this like a swing? So that's what is also my focus in my classes, that I like to use a lot of like contemporary music, a big variety of music so that people learn to decipher like, okay, I can do this style to this song and this style calls for this dance style.
Oh, that's fabulous. I always get, I am a dancer, I say, in my bedroom, and that's probably it. I would never call myself a dancer anywhere outside of my own home. But, so someone like me gets kind of intimidated when I hear dance class or I hear like, learn this waltz, learn this rumba. I kind of go, no, I can't. But this concept, is it for beginners like me as well, or is it more for people who already know what those dances are?
So actually, my favorite things are to teach total beginners. So a lot of like my clients or like, let's say dance colleagues, they're like, why don't you focus on competition dancers? You did competition style, go full in. And listen, I like to teach everybody, But I think what I especially like is working with beginners, especially because of this experience that people are afraid, nervous, intimidated, and making it accessible and showing them that it's actually super easy to learn. That's my favorite part. And giving them a good start in their dance journey. That's my passion, I must admit.
Well, you're the right person for the job then, for sure. You also mentioned dance as a self-improvement tool. Now, what do you mean by that?
So, of course, dance is like embedded in society. We just dance around, right? So everybody feels kind of like, oh, I should be able to do this, like from the get-go. And I feel like that's a big pressure you put on yourself. So it's also something when I say you don't have to study it, but there's a learning process also involved. And so with the transformation, what comes for me to mind is people usually think like, oh, dance, it's just like, aerobic style fitness. And for me, dance has actually more transformational idea and possibility. So I studied physical education to become a movement therapist, and that deepened actually my understanding of like movement, dance. What does it do in a person? How can it expand your comfort zone? How can you actually change your beliefs about yourself? And so when I teach dance, it's actually, I think all my clients have always the opportunity to, go beyond their comfort zone, realize like, oh my gosh, I can do that. So my idea I had about myself is actually not true. It's also kind of like with the partner dancing is they get to know each other in a different way and suddenly see sides in each other that they never sometimes thought the other person would have. Let's say in a traditional couple where the woman sees like her boyfriend, husband, fiance, like, ooh, what kind of like sexy moves do I see here, right? So that spices up the relationship. And also like, let's say, as I said, in the traditional constellation right now, the man seeing the girlfriend, the wife, fiance, like being like all outgoing and sensual. It's like, it just brings up new experiences, just getting to know each other, or, sometimes I think in long-term relationships, sometimes it's good to spice something up again and, see what else there's.
Yeah, for sure. You're bringing up a very, very good point of, moving your body in general does something to your mentality, does something to your spirit. I about 10 months ago, had a baby, and I had stopped working out, and when I started working out again, I was so upset with myself that I had stopped because I felt so sluggish and everything. But something like getting in touch with my body again like that, all of a sudden I felt like, oh yeah, I can stand up straight. I can, I have more confidence all of a sudden. I do feel like dance in particular, the movements, the way you get in touch, even how you move an arm or a shoulder or something, it all kind of circulates around a sensuality to move your body and to move it with confidence in that way.
Yes. So first of all, congratulations, Conchetta, to the baby. That must be super exciting. And what you said, yes, so the dance and body and the mind, they all work together, right? So you can influence your mind to do something in your body and vice versa. Like through your body, you can influence your mindset. And that's kind of like as I said, these are like things where you get me totally excited because I think very holistically and I think everything kind of like works together. And so, as you said, sometimes, we just are in a bad place and then just putting on a song that whatever is your favorite song and then just like moving to it freely, close the door, don't let, nobody has to watch, but then, you bring up your spirit and the same, like vice versa, like, through your mindset, you can kind of like influence, like, okay, like if I want to really get there, if I focus on it, if I'm really precise, then you can make your body do things that you thought like you can't do. So, that's the beauty of the dance. And it's a very creative place because there's no end to it with dance. You can always create something new. And that's the beauty for me.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of looking at it. I also, like you said, if you can walk, you can dance.
Yes.
That alone, that kind of statement, for someone like me who doesn't consider themselves a dancer per se, does give me confidence, just like, oh, well, yeah, I actually can walk. I mean, you know, I'm not clumsy completely, you know, so I feel like, yeah, maybe I take a class, maybe I'll learn something.
Yeah.
So are all your classes partner classes, or are they individual as well?
So I'm like, right now with the online classes, actually it gives also like opportunity for new ways. So when I pivoted my dance classes to my online classes, I have my group classes where you have to have a partner. Doesn't mean like you have to be in a relationship, but you have to have another body to dance with. Right. So, yes, those are like partner dance, like my group classes for partner dance classes. But I have also created like a lunchtime workout class where all the dances are based on, let's say Latin ballroom dance classes like merengue, salsa, bachata. But they are kind of like created in a line dance format. And so it's kind of a combination of like learning the dance, learning like some choreography, but also getting a little workout. So yeah, it's a nice mixture of both so that you get a little bit exercise, but in a dance style way.
That's so cool. I also see for your online classes, you have dance classes, wedding dance, couples dance, private lessons. You also have corporate training. So what's the corporate training like?
Well, so the corporate training, I think for me, the partner dancing, just like a couple dancing with each other, is the micro world in the macro world. So it's kind of like what happens between a couple, you know, you just can expand this into a bigger concept. So that's why I think like partner dancing is like beautiful for corporate companies, for team building, kind of like exploring like what does it mean to lead, what does it mean to follow, how can we communicate better and be more laser sharp so that we get the things done we want to get done. And I think my favorite part with the partner dancing and team leading is that you actually can show how change can happen in an instant. You know, when we think about like change, then it's like, oh, we got to create new habits. It takes 21 days, 66 days, whatever numbers out there. Right. And in dance, you can, and so then sometimes it feels like, oh, this is too much work. Right. Why bother, right? Yeah. But with the partner dancing, you can see if you do something and let's say it doesn't create the result, and you kind of like look at, well, what did I do or what did my partner do? And we correct it a little bit. You can immediately see, boom, the little change I just did created the result I wanted to create. And I mean, like, how more tangible can you get that, right? And so I feel like just having that experience is very encouraging then to see, like, if I translate this then into corporate work and corporate working with each other, it's like, okay, maybe let me look at what I did or what I'm doing, and maybe I can create a tiny little shift, and then it has a ripple effect. And so that's why I think partner dancing is just like, a great way, and also very flexible, because you can do different things with the partner dancing. It doesn't have to be necessarily, together touching, but you can do things within a group setting, like a group choreography. So that way there's no, let's say, physical touch involved. Some companies might be like hesitant about that. Sure. So you have to establish first like the safe space for that.
Oh, that's fabulous. You think of corporate or business and you don't, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm on the other side of it. I'm more involved with the arts than I am involved with corporate. And for me, corporate always sounds like kind of, cut and dry, kind of strict, kind of, these are our roles and there's no really kind of leeway beyond that. But when you introduce something as artistic as dance and you say, yeah, but forget all that and try this, and then you bring it back one more time to show them how it all relates together. What a fabulous ideology on dance.
And I feel like especially nowadays, what's even like more exciting about this is because you can include everybody. And so now here we are like, with diversity, inclusion, we can bring everybody together. We can connect. We can start learning, understanding each other. And yeah, so as I said, as a dancer myself, I'm biased, and I feel like that's the best.
Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. That's what you should say. Thank you so much, Miss Simone, for being here today. Friends, take a dance class. You will not be sorry. Go to dancetogethernyc.com. Spelled out is dancetogethernyc.com. Miss Simone, thank you again for being here on the Etiquette Show with us.
Thank you so much, Conchetta. It was a pleasure talking to you and spreading the word of dance to the world. Thank you so much, Conchetta.
Spreading the love of dance. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Hello, hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to the Etiquette Show. I'm Conchetta Rose. Today on the Etiquette Show, we have the author of 5 novels, including Skyscraper, a Lambda Literary Award finalist, and The Butcher's Sons, which was named a Kirkus Review's Best Book of 2015. Coming this July, from Rebel Satori, his newest pair of novellas, The Root of Everything and Lightning. His writing has appeared in HuffPost, Genre Magazine, The Fix, Thema Literary Review, and elsewhere, to say the least. He co-wrote Tom in America, an award-winning short film starring Sally Kirkland and Burt Young. He teaches fiction writing at Gotham Writers Workshop and curates Hot Lit, an LGBTQ-themed monthly newsletter. I don't know how he gets this all done. We have with us here today Scott Alexander Hess. Scott, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
I'm winded from that introduction.
Oh, that's it. We're done. That's the end of the show.
You get this all done.
It's too long.
Not at all.
I am industrious, yes.
Where do you find the times to do all these accomplishments? I mean, it's absolutely...
No, that's, I'm up early and I was in grad school, just a bit each day and keep going. And yeah, I do. A little bit each day.
That's so amazing.
Keep the rhythm going.
Yes, it's absolutely inspiring to talk to someone like you who has done so much in what I think is a short amount of time, even though it feels like long for you maybe. So how do you accomplish this? What inspires you to write?
Well, what does inspire me to write? I mean, I've always written since I was a kid. I think I love writing. The muses speak to me. I love creating. In grad school, I went to the New School in New York City in 2007. And that's when I fell in love with the form of the novel, the narrative form of the novel, which is a whole different beast unto itself. I'd written a few screenplays. I'd done some acting. I wrote, all sorts of things, short stories. But it was through graduate school when we were learning the discipline of reading a novel a week. And that, when you talk about how do you do it all, it was like, we did learn that, developing that muscle of reading and writing and being aware of the world. And by the end, I'd written my first novel, and which was my thesis, and just really loved the form and shape of the novel. And that set me off on my journey. I hadn't planned that at all. I had no intention of being a novelist, but it just really reading. I mean, I teach and I tell my students, if you don't take a class, just read. I mean, read, and you learn how to write. And I love when I write a novel. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm writing a novel now set in Delhi, India, and I live the novel. Like for that 2 years I'm writing it, it never quite leaves my mind, and I have all these little tiny notebooks, and I'm always jotting ideas and things like, oh, he should discover this, or she should do this, and so it never quite goes away. So I don't have to worry about, I'm inspired constantly, and I don't have to worry about, oh, did I write today? Am I going to write tomorrow? It's just always there, like a little secret life. And then I get it on the page at different points. But yeah, so it's, that, and really reading is what inspires me in all other art forms. just keeps my brain moving.
Yeah.
And my own work, it's almost like it's not my work. It's like the muses are talking and the characters start to live, and they're just like living this little life over there. And so they inspire me because suddenly they're like, oh, he needs to find this, and then this will happen. And then the characters are like knocking, come on, where have you been? We're ready. Let's do something.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So is there a particular, I know you said novels is really your thing, but is there a particular genre within novels that you lean towards, like comedy or
Yeah, I write, for the most part, I write literary, historical novels, and historical in just that they're set in different time periods.
Okay.
I've written, I have The River Runs Red, that's set in like 1920. Or I'm sorry, it builds to that, but it starts in 1890. So I've written in the 1940s. That's The Butcher's Sons, and my new book, the novellas. One is set on a farm in 1918, and one is set in different periods. It weaves. It's my first book that is nonlinear. That is like a puzzle, a tapestry that I've pieced together. These 3 different through lines of 3 different generations and of fathers and sons, and then different time periods from the early part of the century to the current day, and it moves around, kind of like the novel The Hours or something like that.
Do you find it difficult to write? Obviously, it's all connected, but like disjointed in that sense, like a scene or a scene there, and then they all connect.
Yeah, I did. I found it challenging, but also exciting. Being that I've written what I'm up to now, 6 novels, 7 novels, and a couple novellas. I do, as I grow as a novelist, I find I read so much and I find things that incite and excite and challenge me. So this one, for some reason, spoke to me that I felt it's these 3 generations starting in turn of the century Germany, coming to America, and then the son, the last son, in modern day, and he's the gay character. And it spoke to me in that it shouldn't be in order. It should, almost like music, it had a certain musicality that I wanted it to flow in a rhythm from like here to there in these different time periods. So it was this extra challenge as I did have to lay it all out and be like, okay, should I go piece A and then L and then B and I'm like, no, let's try here to there, because it had to, while it was disconnected, it had to have like a through line and a feeling of movement through it. Right. So the reader's not just like, where the hell are we going?
Right.
So it was both exciting and challenging to try that new shape, that new form.
So cool. So again, to reiterate, we're talking about your 2 newest novellas, Everything and Lightning. So how are those 2 stories connected, or are they connected to each other?
They are. The root of everything is the one that's the mosaic, that has the 3 generations and moves around. And then Lightning is just one young man's story set in Arkansas in 1918 during a big blizzard. And his name is Bud, and it's written in a very first person, rural voice. And he is the gay character. So they are interrelated in that it's about family and land and nature. The themes and the root of everything has a lot to do with, they end up getting into lumber. Someone dies when there's there's these lumber farms, and someone dies related to the land. And then in the farm story, Lightning, he has a love for horses. They're very poor, and his father freezes to death outside. But ultimately, he's got to decide, because he has an opportunity to run off and be a jockey and go to the city, or stay and manage the farm. And he loves horses, and he ends up having falling in love with a neighbor another young man, right? So it's kind of his coming of age. So they interrelate in that sort of way, if that makes sense.
Intend to release them at the same time? Was that an intentional thought when you were writing them?
No. Actually, Lightning was a novel called The Jockey. Okay. So part 2 was he goes to the city and becomes a famous jockey. But I kind of set that aside, and then the root of everything was going to be a novel, but it took its shape as a novella. And so I had one novella. And when I talked to publishers, they were like, well, let's pair this with something. So I picked up Lightning, and it was called The Jockey. And I said, let's think about reshaping this and focus a little more of his gay coming of age in 1918. Because I also like to look at what it's like to be gay in different time periods. You know, Arkansas on a farm, 1918, it's not going to be easy. There's not like the local club. Right. So I reshaped that, and I felt the land connection. I thought, let me pair these, which was then a lot easier to publish too, because nobody really these days wants to publish one novella. They either want that with stories or a pair. So that's how that kind of took shape and came together. And I ended up liking it's funny because I set that book aside, and I always tell my students to keep writing. Don't wait till it's published. You're done, you finish, you start the next thing. So that one I'd written years ago, and then it was there. I thought, wait, let me reshape this. And I liked the shift to more about his gay coming out and all that sort of thing, and keeping it on the farm, it felt more compelling. So, because I'd been away from it a couple years, so it definitely didn't. It all turn out to be what I first set out and thought they would be. They turned into completely different things, but then they worked out. So there you go.
Doesn't even matter, right? That's fabulous. So explain to me your historical background. You write a lot of history into your pieces and setting them in different time periods and stuff like that. Is that something you studied in school, or is it just something you became fascinated with?
No, I think I always have LGBTQ plus characters, one or more in my books, because that's such a part of who I am. And I always found it more interesting to go to different time periods, and have that high stake challenge for the character, like being gay in New York City. The Butcher's Sons is set in a butcher shop. There's 3 brothers, and one of them, the youngest, is gay. And it's like, well, what is it like to be gay in 1930 in New York City? I have a few modern stories. Skyscraper, the one that was up for the Lambda Literary Award, is modern, and it's a novella, and it's about an obsessive relationship. But I more so love to go back in time to different periods, and also just like the fabric of living and what it's like and how people treat each other. And then sometimes I'll weave back to the present, but I become fascinated with those elements of history. Mostly from the earliest I went is 1890, and then I've gone through that period up to present, or sometimes I mix it up. Right. But it's, can have a lot of compelling elements, like I just reread Edith Wharton's House of Mirth. She's like all these authors I love, and I love what she has to say about women's choices at the turn of the century, and just how life was and how they compare it to, because we live in such a, our world feels so, so cute, troubled at times. And I like to look back at what were the troubles, in 1900, and how do they compare and are different from where we are now? So. Yeah.
Do you think you'll, in the future, and maybe this is hard to answer, but do you think you'll set anything during COVID time?
I doubt it. I doubt it, just because I tend to write about emotional landscapes and relationships. I'm drawn to what, like rivers and weather and land and how the earth relates to people, and really much more internal emotional turmoil. So something like an event, the Hindenburg, 9/11, COVID, it doesn't attract me as much because it becomes such a part of the writing. It's part of what the story is, which can be really wonderful, but I'm never as much drawn to that as I am to smaller relations between people and like that emotional twists and turns, and which is very human and kind of timeless. And that's what really gets me rolling.
Yeah.
So I tend to avoid big defining things.
Yeah.
Because that's not my strength, really.
Yeah. Well, keep doing whatever you're doing because it is working. Where can our friends get your latest pair of novellas?
Well, everything's on my website at www.scottalexanderhess.com. And then, things are on Amazon. And the latest two are from Rebel Satori, which is a press. But when in doubt, go to scottalexanderhess.com and you'll find everything. All
updates, all the newsletters, everything.
All the reviews, the news, my newsletter, Hot Lit, and all the books and everything else. So you can find it all.
Fabulous. Scott, thank you so much for being here with us today. Pleasure talking with you.
Wonderful talking to you too.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Oh.